Joining us in the studio, Abbas Idris, Director General FCT Emergency Management Agency FEMA, to talk to us about the International Humanitarian Day and the various interventions handled by emergency agencies across the country. DG, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on News Hour.
Thank you very much for having me.
Right. Now, to dive right into it, could you tell us quickly what significance do you think is there in marking an International Humanitarian Day to acknowledge actors that provide relief across the world?
Well, thank you very much. The World International Humanitarian Day was declared after the bombing of Canal Hotel in Baghdad in 2003, whereby 22 voluntary workers were killed, including the envoy to the Secretary General of the United Nations. And 5 years after, the United Nations feel that they should declare August 19th as World Humanitarian Day, and which is today being marked as that day. The aim and the objective of that day is to ensure that humanitarian workers are encouraged, and people are also mobilized, and those who are affected by any disaster are also attended to in terms of the normal care, given the kind of support they deserve, as well as the empathy and the sympathy that a humanitarian worker is also showing. Aside of that, it's also to encourage the humanitarian workers, because they are always at the verge of a very strict and dangerous situation whenever they are carrying out their own operations.
Right. In Nigeria, there are so many areas in which emergency agencies play a role, from internally displaced persons to victims of disaster to even distribution of palliative materials to provide succor to vulnerable people in the society. Is the FCT Emergency Management Agency on top of these intervention efforts?
Absolutely. In fact, it's one of the core principles that we respect and we obey. There is also a standard in the way we operate, because there is what is called a sphere, whereby every affected person, there are a portion that you're supposed to give to him or to her. And anything short of that, it is not accepted internationally. So whatever that is being done is done with the standards set aside by the United Nations, and that is also really making a great wave. In the FCT, we make sure that we follow this fair distribution pattern and ensure that everybody gets what is due to him or to her, and we don't even give the kind of privilege that some people always think that we do. When you are due for it, you are getting it without any problem.
Okay, one of the disasters that seem to have been taking on a recurring nature is flooding. How prepared is your agency to deal with issues of flooding, especially since there have been warnings by NAMET of imminent floodings?
Yeah, we've been doing our best, and even before I come to this studio, I had to go around, and we discovered some places that had some flash flooding, and immediately we had to call the relevant agencies to come and evacuate and clean up so that the water will flow. It is something that is part of us, and it is not something that we can do alone. We have to do it along with the community. It is a two-way traffic. While the government is also putting the infrastructure, it is also the responsibility of the communities to also maintain that infrastructure, not to dump refuse, and ensure that they obey the building codes without building on the waterways. So these are the things that we do, and ensuring that, especially in Abuja, keeping it safe is one of the cardinal principles that we respect. 2002, we had a casualty-free in the FCT upon all the disasters and flood in the country, and we are hoping that we are also going to make a remarkable record this year by the grace of God. We are working assiduously around the clock to ensure that nothing like death or whatever casualty that we are going to witness. And I want us to realize that we have come to live with the flood because of the climate change and also the urbanization that we are having. If you look at the population of Abuja, has more than 10 times the number of expected people to stay in Abuja. So if there is urbanization, there is going to be more constructions, more waste generation, and a lot of things will happen. And because of that, so the facilities are overstretched. But government, in its own part, is making everything possible to ensure that they meet their own part and ensure that people are not really violating the environmental codes. And we are appealing to the residents of the FCT to ensure that they cooperate with us and don't throw away waste anyhow indiscriminately, and don't build indiscriminately along the waterways. But of course, when you build now, we have the political will to remove the building.
All right, one last thing before we let you go. The process of distribution of palliative to Nigeria has started across the country. What role will emergency management agencies in the state and the FCT play in this process?
Well, like I said, there are modalities. We will have to adopt the modalities of how it's going to be distributed, and it's going to be very clean, just the way we did during the COVID-19. In the FCT, we did house-to-house distribution, and we have all the list of those who were given, including their telephone numbers. So the data is there, and we'll just adopt a modality which is going to be, because it is going to be a stakeholder thing. It's not something that is going to be only for an agency. So we bring the stakeholders to brainstorm and adopt a simple model that is going to be transparent and also accountable.
All right, thank you so much, Abbas Idris, Director General, FCT Emergency Management Agency, for taking the time to join us this evening on NewsHour.
Thank you, my pleasure. Thank you.
All right.